My name is Layla. I'm 30 years old. I live in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Manchester. The streets are peaceful. Birds sing in the morning. Children ride bicycles in the evening. I work at a small flower shop at the corner of my street. It smells like roses and fresh leaves every day. Most people say I have a perfect life, a loving husband, a nice flat, a simple job. And it's true. My husband Omar is kind. He brings me coffee every morning. He kisses my forehead before he leaves for work. He texts me during the day just to say, I miss you. But I have a secret, a heavy one. I don't love him. People look at us and think we're a happy couple, and I smile for them. I nod. I laugh. But inside, I feel empty. Every day I wake up and ask myself, why did I say yes? I thought love would come with time. I believed kindness could grow into something more. But months have passed, and my heart still feels quiet. And the worst part? He doesn't know. Not yet. I still remember the day Omar proposed to me. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. The sky was cloudy, and the air smelled like rain. We were walking in the park near the old oak tree. He stopped suddenly, took my hand, and got down on one knee. My heart didn't race. I didn't feel butterflies, but I smiled. I said yes. Why? Because I was tired of being alone. Before Omar, I had my heart broken. A man I loved left without a word. I cried for weeks. So when Omar came into my life, gentle, stable, warm, I thought maybe this was what love should look like. Not loud, not wild, just calm. I told myself, real love can grow. It doesn't have to start with fire. That night, he gave me a simple ring. No crowd, no photos, just him, the rain, and my fake smile. I wasn't excited, but I wanted to believe it was the right thing. I wanted to believe that one day I would love him too. Our wedding was small, just close family and a few friends. Omar smiled the whole day. He looked at me like I was the best thing that ever happened to him. I wore a white dress, I held flowers, I said I do, but inside, I felt quiet. I told myself it was normal, that every bride feels nervous. We moved into a cozy apartment, 2 rooms and a small balcony. Omar made it feel like home. He cooked breakfast every Sunday. He left small notes in my handbag. Have a lovely day, my queen, one note said. He planned movie nights with popcorn and pillows. He bought me the scarf I once looked at in a shop window. Every day, he showed me love, in words, in actions, but I didn't feel it inside. I smiled, I said thank you, but I felt like I was watching someone else's life. At night, when he held me close, I felt safe, but not loved. Not in the way I wanted to love him back. I started writing in a notebook, just a few lines each night. Omar is kind, I wrote. He does everything right, but I feel nothing. I didn't tell anyone at first, not my sister, not my mother. I was afraid they would say, "You're ungrateful. You have a good man, why complain?" But one afternoon, I sat with my friend Sana at a small cafe. She looked at me and said, "You don't look happy, Layla. Is everything okay? I stayed silent for a moment. Then I whispered, Sana, I don't love my husband. She looked surprised, but he treats you so well. I nodded. Yes, I know. That's the hard part. He's good to me. So good. But my heart doesn't feel it. I stared at my coffee cup and said, every day I pretend. I smile, I thank him, I act like the perfect wife. But I feel like I'm slowly disappearing. Sana took my hand gently. Layla, that's not a small thing. Don't carry it alone. I nodded again, but deep inside, I was already drowning in guilt. It was a Friday evening. I came home tired from work. The lights were dim, soft music was playing, and the smell of roasted chicken filled the air. Omar stood in the kitchen wearing a blue shirt, my favorite one. The table was set with candles, garlic bread, fresh salad, and a small chocolate cake with strawberries on top. He smiled and said, "Tonight is just for you." I smiled back, but my smile was weak. We sat down to eat. He served me first. He kept looking at me, waiting to see joy on my face. I said, "This is lovely, Omar. Thank you." But inside, I felt empty. I didn't taste the food. I didn't hear the music. My heart was somewhere far away. I felt like I was acting in a movie, saying lines I didn't mean, wearing a mask I couldn't take off. After dinner, he gave me a small gift, a bracelet with tiny stars on it. He said, "Because you light up my world." I looked at him. I wanted to cry. He was trying so hard to make me happy, and I couldn't feel a thing. A few days after that dinner, Omar came home early. I was sitting on the sofa, reading, or at least pretending to. He sat beside me, quiet. For a moment, we both just listened to the ticking of the clock. Then he looked at me and asked, "Layla, are you happy?" My heart stopped. I looked at him. I saw the kindness in his eyes, the worry, and I couldn't tell him the truth, so I said, "I'm just tired. Work has been stressful." He nodded slowly. "You've been quiet lately," he said. "I miss your smile." I looked away. My throat felt tight. I didn't want to cry. He touched my hand and said, "If there's anything on your mind, anything at all, you can tell me." I nodded again, but I didn't speak, because the words in my heart would hurt him, and I wasn't ready to do that, not yet. It was a quiet Sunday morning. The sun was soft through the window. Omar made pancakes for breakfast. He always did that on Sundays. We sat at the table, no rush, just tea, warm food, and silence. Then he looked at me and smiled. "Layla, have you ever thought about having a baby?" I froze. My fork stopped in the air. He kept speaking, softly, gently. "I think maybe it would bring us even closer. You'd be a wonderful mother." My heart started racing. A baby? With a man I didn't love? I looked at the window. The world outside kept moving, but inside me, everything stopped. I whispered, "I don't think I'm ready." Omar nodded. Slowly, "That's okay," he said. "We don't have to rush." He smiled again, kind as always, but his eyes looked sad. And in that moment, I felt like the worst person in the world. That night, I couldn't sleep. Omar was beside me, breathing softly, peacefully. I turned to face the wall, my eyes wide open, my heart heavy. I couldn't do it anymore. I got up. I opened the closet and pulled out a small bag. I packed a few clothes, my toothbrush, a notebook. I moved slowly, like I was afraid the silence would break. I stood at the front door, holding the bag in my hand. My fingers shook. I looked back at Omar. He was still asleep. His face was calm, still smiling, even in sleep. I whispered, "You don't deserve this." And then I put the bag down. I sat on the floor beside the door and cried, quietly. Not because someone hurt me, but because I was hurting someone. Someone who only ever showed me love. The next evening, I made tea. My hands were shaking. My heart felt tight in my chest. Omar came home from work. He smiled, kissed my cheek. I sat on the sofa and said, "Can we talk?" He looked surprised, but nodded. He sat across from me, holding his cup, waiting. I looked down. I couldn't hold his eyes. Then I said it. "Omar, you're a good man. You've done everything right. But I don't love you." The words hung in the air. He didn't speak. His face didn't change much, but his eyes, they filled with tears. After a long pause, he said softly, "I know, Layla. I've known for a while. I just didn't want to believe it." My lips trembled. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I really tried." Omar nodded. "I never wanted to force you to love me, but I hoped maybe one day you would." We both sat there, quiet. No shouting, no anger, just sadness. Real, gentle, honest sadness. After that night, everything became quiet. We still lived in the same apartment, but we were like strangers. Omar moved to the guest room. I stayed in ours. He still woke up early, still made 2 cups of coffee. He placed mine on the table, just like always. But now there were no small notes, no little hearts drawn on napkins, just silence. We didn't talk much. We said good morning and take care, but there was no laughter, no warmth. In the evenings, I sat by the window, watching cars pass by. He stayed in the other room, reading quietly. The home we built together felt cold, not because of hate, but because the truth had finally arrived, and with it came a space between us that no kindness could fill. A week later, I packed my things, just a suitcase, a few clothes, my notebook. Omar helped me carry the bag to the door. He didn't say much, just looked at me with quiet eyes. I said, "Thank you for everything." He gave a small smile and whispered, "Take care, Lila." I stepped outside. I didn't look back. I moved into a small guest room at my friend Sana's house. She didn't ask too many questions. She just made tea and sat with me. I cried some nights. I stared at the ceiling, wondering, did I make the right choice? But in the mornings, I walked by the lake. I breathed deeply for the first time in months. No pretending, no lies, just me and the quiet. I started writing again, page after page, my thoughts, my pain, my hopes. Slowly, something inside me began to heal. Not quickly, but gently, like soft light returning after a long, dark night. Months have passed now. I found a small flat near the bookstore where I work. It's nothing special, but it's mine. I painted the walls light blue. I put flowers near the window. Every morning I make my own coffee. I sit at the table and breathe. Sometimes I still think of Omar. I hope he's okay. I hope he finds someone who truly loves him the way he deserves. He gave love with an open heart, and for that I will always be grateful. One afternoon, I opened my drawer and saw the bracelet he gave me, the one with tiny stars. I held it in my hand, smiled gently, and whispered, "Thank you." Then I placed it in the small box and tucked it away. That chapter is over. I don't feel broken anymore. I feel honest. I feel lighter. My story isn't perfect, but it's mine. And if you are listening to this, and you've ever felt the same, please remember this. You are not selfish for wanting real love. You are not weak for walking away. Be kind to yourself, be brave, and never lie to your heart. Thank you for hearing my story.